What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of Satisfactory! Now with 15% more people! Hey everybody, Drawing Chaos here with my good buddy, Sir Penfighter, fighter of pens. Say hello.
Hi, howdy, hey. How's it going, guys?
Penfighter has been helping me with this nice little project we got going on here, and I know you all read the title. I know it says turbo fuel is dead, and I say, wait, just give me a minute and I will explain. Listen to my process. So like the last episode where I made a nice well-designed for the coal generators, I was looking into the wonderful fuel generators and how to power them. Because there's actually a couple different options we can choose. And of course, everybody knows the best option, turbo fuel. But looking into turbo fuel, boy did I find a problem. And thanks to my good buddy Sir Penfighter, who actually helped me look into it a little bit more, we realized what that problem is.
Yes, we did.
All right, and then I'll come back and we'll go over the 3 different designs we have. And I'll be able to pull up the spreadsheet on the side, too.
Pull it up. Ooh, you're coming back. Ooh, baby.
I'm like a dolphin.
I see
You
you,
can
too. You're
blame
off
it
the
all
top over there. Whatever that sound is. I can't make that sound. That's not a sound I can do. My lips don't do that.
With time and practice, your lips can do anything. I mean, what? Hello, good sir. All right, let's put... Wait, how did I... Bastard. Well, looking into the lovely recipe, we figured out that there are 3 ways you can make turbo fuel. And each way has its own ups and downs, kind of say. Pros and cons? Maybe pros and cons. That'd probably be the best way to say it. So let's start off with the simplest way. This one right here. Which is the actual alternate recipe of heavy oil residue and compact coal to make turbo fuel. As you can see how the setup is, it's pretty simple, straightforward, and easy to produce.
This is a very simple build. Simpler than the others. However, it makes very little turbo fuel compared to the other builds, is what we discovered here.
As you can see from the spreadsheet right now, it'll take 30 sulfur and 30 coal to make you about 30 turbo fuel. So whatever sulfur and coal you put into it, that's what you're getting. And you're almost using 30 crude oil. Of course, you're not using any excess water, and it's pretty easy to make as, 30 turbo fuel is only 1 refinery, another refinery, and an assembler. So easy peasy. So if you want something simple, you can go with this, but as we said, not a lot of turbo fuel. As we have for the other recipe that we used to have in update number 3, it's turbo fuel being made from fuel as well as compact coal. Now this one we've changed up just a smidgen by putting in the new blender because there's actually a recipe that negates what we previously did where it took heavy oil residue and water to make fuel. It does the same thing as it did before, but this time instead of having a packager package it and then unpackage it, now you just have a blender doing all the fun. And we'll go take a look at the spreadsheet to see how that one looks as well.
Well, the benefit of this build is why people did the packagers in Update 3 was because you could literally double your output from the heavy oil residue to the fuel. The blender does the same thing, it just cuts out all those extra machines.
And the nice thing about this too, as you can see, unlike the other one, it takes 15 coal and 15 sulfur to make 18 turbo fuel, but also drastically reduces the amount of crude oil you need down to only 8 for 18. So it really does more than double what you're producing. But this one does need water. But overall, this is not a bad build. This is what most people did in the previous one, and this is the one that's going to net you the most amount of turbo fuel for crude oil. Note that, for crude oil. All right.
We can have a moment where it's like, now forget everything we just told you because this is all dead.
Yeah, pretty much. All right, on to the brand new recipe that was added in update number 4. Now this takes fuel, heavy oil residue, sulfur, and petroleum coke to make turbo fuel in the nice new blender machine. And this is the one recipe that makes the most turbo fuel per machine. So this makes 45 per minute, where the others make only like 18 and I forgot the other one, but it doesn't matter anyway.
22.5.
22 and a half. Thanks, buddy. So the only problem with this one is it takes 4 items instead of the initial 2 like the other ones. But the funny thing about that is we're actually using 3 items in one. This original recipe over here takes crude oil to make heavy oil residue. Then, part of the heavy oil residue is turned into petroleum coke, which is nice. Another heavy oil residue is turned into fuel. And of course, the last of the heavy oil residue is also put into here. So, crude oil is used 3 out of the 4 items. Then, of course, you just need sulfur.
So this 2 blender build is what I did on my server, just trying to give turbo fuel a first try. I never did do turbo fuel, so this was a very simple, very easy build to throw together that uses relatively less sulfur than some of the other builds. Fairly efficient with oil, but not as efficient as the classic Update 3 recipe. And the result was underwhelming. But that's why you guys are here, right? To see why this is dead.
And as you can see, it does produce the most amount of turbo fuel for one building, one machine for the blender. So it gives you 45, where the other one gives you 18.8, and the original one gives you 30. But the thing to note on this first one, this major one, the brand new one for update number 4, is this uses the least amount of sulfur out of any single one of them. This is almost doubling the sulfur to turbo fuel ratio, whereas this previous one was almost a 1-to-1, and of course the original one was almost a 1-to-1. So definitely, if you're hurting for sulfur, this would be the one you want to use. So now that you know all the information on this lovely turbo fuel and how to make it, the real question is, why is it dead? I mean, isn't this really efficient? Can I make a whole bunch of stuff with this? And the answer is yes, you can. You can make a huge turbo fuel setup, but the question is, why would you? With update number 4, they've changed a lot of things in the system, as well as the need for sulfur. Sulfur is now used in batteries, it's used in nuclear setup, and it's used in a lot of other things that wasn't normally the case. So, with this being taking up so much sulfur and a lot of oil just to make a lot of power, it's not even worth it. Take a look at my spreadsheet on just the nuclear setup. Alright, take a look at this. Now, this is a nuclear fuel rod setup. Yes, it looks complicated, and it looks like a lot of machines and a lot of work. But check this out. The amount of materials that this uses, including sulfur, is very minimal. 75, 77, 75, 33, nothing over 100. And what does this produce? This produces 9 nuclear power plants, giving you 22,500 megawatts of power. So if you wanted the same amount of power for a turbo fuel setup with any single one of these, the blender recipe, which is super simple by the way, is still going to take you 15 blenders making turbo fuel to produce 22,500. Sure, now that's only 500 crude oil, but it's also an extra 337 sulfur. And you still got to build 150 fuel gens, which is, not too fun. Now, granted, if you went with the one that makes the most turbo fuel, you're going to use even more sulfur as well as adding coal, but you're definitely going to reduce the amount of crude oil. Only 300 crude oil, but over 500 coal and sulfur. Not to mention that water kind of adds up on both of them, but not so much on the original blender one. Now, for the worst one out of them all, I don't know why anybody would want to use this, but at 600 oil, 600 coal, 600 sulfur, that is just god-awful, but 150 fuel gens. Now, 150 fuel gens might not seem like a lot, but that takes up a hell of a lot of space, where you might as well go to nuclear and only build 9 power plants, and you're still getting the same amount. And you only have to use 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different lines of items coming in. And as you can see, the most you'd have to build is only 10 manufacturers, 10 assemblers, about 6 constructors, 6 refineries, and a few foundries over here. Not bad for something that you would build instead of building, I don't know, say 27 assemblers and 43 refineries for one, or even 22 assemblers and 46 refineries. And don't get me started on building over 18 blenders just to get this one up and running. So one more thing I wanted to show you guys that's really interesting here is for this nuclear setup, to get everything up and running, not counting the miners, is only 827 megawatts of power just to get all 9 of these nuclear power plants up and running. That's less than 1,000 megawatts of power. You know how easy that is to set up? You can do that with fuel gens. Or awesome option right here is now that the blender has been activated, or added, activated, whatever, you can actually get your heavy oil residue just to make fuel and use the fuel in the fuel gens, because the amount of fuel that's been put in this has been reduced to taking only 12 instead of 15, which is a huge boost to the amount of power you can make. So why waste all the coal and the sulfur that you want to use for something else when you can just turn crude oil straight into fuel and throw that in a fuel generator? Here, take a look at this one. So if I have 300 crude oil, that's 807 fuel. So if I open up my mouse calculator over here, we can take the 807 fuel we're making, divide that by 12. That is 67.25 fuel generators we can make. And then times 150, that's still making us 10,000 megawatts of power for a 300 line of crude oil. Not bad indeed.
Whoa, mama.
Sure, we're not making the 22,000 that we could if we want to waste some coal and sulfur, but still, a 300 line to make us about 10,000 megawatts? That's going to last us quite some time.
And be easy to build.
That's true, Pen. That's true. But let's say you want to build something. Let's say you want to get some fuel gens up and running. What would something like that look like? Well, I got one setup over here. So check out the setup that I got over here. I have 2 lines of crude oil coming in with 40 lovely refineries, making all this lovely heavy oil residue. And of course, some nice little polyester resin. Polymer resin. Ah, there we go. Polyester resin coming over here, so we can just throw that right into the sink. Now, the original setup that we did for this was, of course, the packager into the refinery, into the packager, you know, to move all this stuff. All this right here can now be replaced with some lovely blenders. And then, of course, just thrown straight into the fuel gen. That right there, 2 lovely oil things. That is only 2 oil nodes off the entire map. And that right there will make me 40,000 megawatts of power for those 2. That's it. 40,000 off of those 2. I mean, that's amazing. So why waste your time making turbo fuel when you can make a quick and easy fuel setup and then, of course, you know, switch over to nuclear now that we can get rid of it. And remember, don't forget, you can actually get rid of nuclear waste now to make it into plutonium and shove it right into the resource sink. So now we can actually get rid of nuclear waste, so that won't even be a problem anymore. So there's really no reason not to go nuclear and waste your time with turbo fuel when it's more beneficial the other way. So everybody, that's pretty much my thesis on why turbo fuel is dead, while we should switch over to nuclear power plants instead, and how we can basically take over the world. I want to give a big shout out and thank you to my good Putty? My good buddy.
Putty. I think, yeah, Buddy's good. Buddy's good. I'm okay. Good.
Oh, I said Putty with the P. I will do it again. So I want to give a big shout out to my buddy, the Last Penfighter.
Heyo.
Who has a lovely YouTube channel as well as streams over on Twitch. So don't forget to go check him out. I'm going to put a link down in the description for both. Make sure to give him a nice subscription and follow. In either order, I trust you guys. You're the best. And give him a nice thank you and tell him how much you do appreciate him helping out. And go check out his stuff because he's going to have even more satisfactory content coming out. Because I've told him to.
You're so sweet, trying. Thank you, buddy.
No problem. Go team. And I'm going to be doing more videos with a lot of the other creators, as much as the people will allow me to anyway. because it's always fun to get some help from other people. You don't want to get all your information for just one source. You want to get it from multiple sources. That's how we grow as human beings. That's how we grow as builders. That's how we make some cool ass stuff in this place.
Life lessons from drawing chaos. I like it.
We're not even Satisfactory Designs anymore. We're Satisfactory Lessons.
Mm.
So, everybody, that's it for today. I hope you appreciate it. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. All that crazy YouTuber stuff. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.